all yours.
One of them. Not all of them. One. You can tell mine. I saw that camera.
Now you see what I have to deal with,
I know.
right? Welcome everybody. Hi there. How are we all? Hi. How are we all savoring summer? Savoring summer for those of you who like summer. Savoring summer for those of you who don't like summer. Still savor it, right? Yeah, who are those people? Bring them up to me now. Who doesn't like summer? Well, happy August, everybody. It's good to see all of you. Oh, most of you are pretty tan. All looking like you've been playing some golf and tennis and beaching it, playing some beach. It's playing beach. It's hard to believe that it's month 8 in this series of building blocks. If I were to just like go to sleep and then wake up in the morning and think of quickly without logic kicking in, what month should we be in? I would say it's probably the 3rd month. Like we're in March. The fact that it's actually August is odd. You know what's funny is I know I got a preview from the guides that one of the topics we'll be covering in Grenada is how do we slow down time? And, you know, of course, there's energy behind it and philosophy and theory and spirituality, but they want to give us real methods to slow it down. And I know that would suit me fine because I prefer it not going as quickly as it's going. That's basically what it comes down to. And so that would be nice if we could slow time down. And maybe it means we all have to stand in a line and run backwards or hop or something and get the earth to rotate a little differently on its axis. I don't know what they're going to say, but whatever it is, we could get it done, right? We could get it done. But that is funny that that's like one of the sneak preview topics that I know we'll be discussing. I know that Grenada is such a gateway. I keep seeing a gate. I keep seeing an arch. I keep hearing the word gateway. There's such a significance about 2020 really coming to us, even though, as we all know, there's no starting point for energy and no ending point that can be defined to a moment. It's all about what leads up to it and what happens, you know, post that moment. But there still is always an opportunity to say, well, this is when things solidified, or this is when there was a synthesis, or this was a more definable period in history that we can see energetically. There was a before and there was an after. Simply like even how we look at 9/11, there was a before and there was an after, and the world was not the same before or after. Things changed, not just in the United States, but globally. And that's what we can expect, that 2020, even though we've been given a lot of lead into conversation about what we can expect with that new energy coming, it's still going to be, you know, different than what our expectations might be, and it'll still come with some unique gifts and packages and surprises. And it's kind of interesting to see how we will be receiving it, what we will be receiving, and also to see how we can build our tools and resources, sort of like the building blocks of this year that we're looking at, to make sure that we're on the most positive side of the waves of energy that are coming in. Hello.
Sorry.
You don't have to apologize. Just want to make you feel welcome. So that will be interesting. This is the first time in all of the years that I've been doing this work that guides are not giving me a clear indication of what my work will be like next year, which I find fascinating because I've been getting 18 to 24 month previews for so long now. It's just a way of life. And I'm not getting that preview. And what I have come to understand when I pursue the thought of it is that the changes that are going to be happening will be so unique and so original that I might not even have a complete frame of reference yet for where my work might be going from 2020 on, which is exciting. It's exciting. Bless you. Everything's exciting if you let it be, right? It's all good. Let me go over very, very briefly what the building blocks were up until this moment. And we're not going to review them. I had said by the time we hit 7, you guys are on your own. But I'll review because reinforcement is good for everybody. But before I do that, Michelle, how are we doing with American Heart? I always find it interesting to see concepts that we talk about here years later. You'll see it. People in entertainment being interviewed, and you hear this language and this verbiage coming out of their mouths. It's like, well, how cool is that? It does always trickle into every meaningful, helpful, purposeful, connected information does keep trickling into society. You know, part of our goal here is to prevent people from shutting it out through, ignorance and fear. It's to prevent that, to help people allow information that's wise and can lead to happier existence, to actually allow them to accept it and to live it and to be it. But cool, that's good. And American Heart is actually a part of it, since they're staying on the edge of spiritual knowledge and understanding, not just treating the body as though something that's separate from the rest of our being, because it's not. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so the building blocks so far these are the building blocks that as you become conscious of them and you set them as destination points, they are what you can use to create a foundation of a life where you're having more happiness and harmony when you keep yourself connected to these principles. So the first building block of the year was change is possible, not in that perfunctory way that we say change is possible and everything is always changing, but that change for you is possible regardless of your history, your baggage, your masks and your layers. Change is possible for you. It's amazing how difficult it is for us to actually realize that we can shift when we have seen a particular pattern model itself over and over and over again, and a particular consequence keeps showing our lives, especially one that is uncomfortable, then we think that life is coming at us and we're not necessarily a participant in it. But when you change your energy, what you're thinking, feeling, believing, and the actions that you take, you will change and shift the trajectory that you're on, and the consequences in your own life will change as well. Energy doesn't decide, energy reflects. A lot of people think that some of this is just theoretical, but it really isn't. Energy is not a decider. Energy is simply the consequence of what it is that we're doing here. Everything is comprised of vibrations, and the outcome of your life, the outcome of your day, is based on the vibrational energy of all of the factors that were input into it. Mostly yours, you're the primary determinant of your outcome, but of course we are all connected, so others' place and space and their thoughts and their focus will contribute to your experience. The higher your vibration, the closer you return to a state of pure love that you had when you were born, the less others affect your reality. So you have more percentage in the creation of the outcome of your experiences as you begin to grow more and more in your love of self and a return to the state of consciousness that is embracing universal wisdom. Wow, that was a hell of a sentence. Thank you, guys. I wish someone would just type that one out for me, because whatever was said, it sounds like a good Facebook quote. And I could always use those instead of recycling. Yeah, okay. Exactly, right? Yeah, that was like, wow, that worked. Okay, let's see if the next thing I say works. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Okay, number 2, month 2. Okay, this one is about shifting from a harsher lens, deliberately shifting from a harsher lens of view into a softer lens of view. Okay, no matter what is irritating or challenging to you, it's always your opportunity to decide what lens you're looking at it through. And if you just shift a little bit toward being softer and softer in your approach and your reactions, just by softening a little bit, you actually start to grow in your ability to feel like you have some say in your life and you have some say in life as it is. And you can get just as great results with a softer approach as you can with a harsh approach in any area. So whatever is annoying to you, be it a person, place, or thing or idea, if you just soften your view of it and what goes on in your head about that, you actually can shift your own feeling of annoyance with it. And that'll expand your ability to make a contribution that could be positive toward shifting it. When you stay dead set on having that tough lens and that hard view about certain principles, there's no room for expansion and there's no room for growth or softening the edges of that which it is you are judging. So soft. 3, warmth. This one, the easiest way for me to say is just to use elementary school as a way. Us being increasingly fear-based and germaphobe and litigious and blah, 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 blah. We're separating from human contact. If we are teaching children in elementary school that they're not allowed a hug from a teacher, or that they're not allowed a touch or a smile or helping up when they skin their knee or anything like that, then we're going to just isolate ourselves. And when we eliminate human contact, we wither, period. You eliminate human contact, you wither and eventually die. That's the bottom line. So having warmth with one another, be the one that extends warmth. You know what? As much as we litigate and we do all this stuff, the truth is, everybody knows if they're behaving appropriately or not. Behave appropriately. Okay, that's enough. 4, April. We're up to April already. We're flying through the month. April. The basis of every disharmony on this planet is fear. Fear is the absence of love, and fear creates all contradictions to abundance, positivity, joy, freedom, love. It's fear. It's not necessarily hatred. Hatred even is a byproduct of fear, if you think about it, right? The only reason you can hate something is because you really don't fully understand it, or you don't understand that it may not actually be a threat to you. You're perceiving yourself as being threatened to some regard, which is where hatred comes from. But fear is really, that's the killer. It's a killer, literally a killer. It is, I would rank it as the number 1 killer on this planet is fear. Everything else falls far, 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 far behind that. Does anybody know how many years, if we were on our present technological science advances, how long it would take for us to journey to the center of our galaxy? Take a guess. How many years it would take to journey to the center of our galaxy?
10,000.
Trillion?
It's gotta be like light years, like tens of thousands of light years.
Yeah. It's I don't remember the exact number, but it was like between 400 and 500 million years just to journey to okay, and the prize goes to and the reason I'm saying this is that how long does it take for us to get to the moon? 2-3 days on a good day, right? Okay, so the difference between the difference between fear being the number 1 killer and then the next killer after that is the same difference between traveling to the center of the galaxy versus traveling to the moon. Do you see how big that is?
Wow.
Okay, there we go. Now I created an image for you that you cannot forget. Therefore, you're incentivized to make sure that you eliminate fear in yourself and others. Okay, good. Next. We Are Eternal is number 5, May. I don't believe that we can really effect positive long-term change in ourselves or others or on the planet unless we take ownership of the fact that we are not finite. Finite people who believe that they exterminate their existence when they die. If you live as though you don't exist beyond, then you take finite steps in your interaction with people and the plant community and the planet and the animal community. When you start to not just know in your head and intellectualize it, but when you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are eternal, you start to develop an emerging interest in the longevity of life and the longevity of healthfulness and freedom and positivity on the planet for all things and creatures and beings and existence. That was easy. 6. Get fired up about your life. You know, I mean, how many years have you gone up to the plate and waited for a pitch to be thrown at you and you were afraid it was going to hit you? You're never going to hit that ball if you're constantly afraid that the ball's going to hit you. Come on, get out there, pick the damn bat up and hit the ball. Come on, we're in this to win it. We're in here to get fired up about our lives, not to watch life go by, not to retreat from it, not to be afraid, not to play video games for 12 hours a day. We're here to get fired up and live this life. Live this life. Okay. This one I love. 7. That was a good one. Yeah, I like that. Okay. 7, July. July was, there's nothing wrong with you. Oh, it's so easy. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a mess. You're not a loser. You're not fat. You're not stupid. You're not dumber than someone else. You're not, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you, despite what other people have tried throughout your life to convince you of. There is nothing wrong with you. That's a heck of a list. I like it when you read it all back. It's pretty cool. That's a good list. I like it. Okay, cool. I hope they come up with something good for today because I haven't heard anything yet. And we didn't have our Enlightenment Power Group in the city this month. We took a one-time vacation. So I didn't get to get a preview of what it might be for this year. In the meantime, I gave you pieces of paper. So write down a question that you might have, personal, global, about the content today. And we'll take those pieces of paper at the break, and then we will, I'll pull some of those questions out and we'll answer them for the second half. I was really good last month. I said I would do it, and I actually did it, right? Instead of cramming it in at 8:57, saying I have 3 minutes. I'm going to do a good job again today to answer your questions because honestly, that's what this is about. It's your curiosity. It brought you here. I am your conduit to answers, so we might as well take advantage of that connection because, as you can tell, I can talk nonstop. Guides get fired up sometimes, and I think they found that I make a pretty good subject that they could just get Karen out of the way and just use me as a mouthpiece for as long as they want. They don't run out of batteries. I'm the only one that runs out of batteries. So, how is everyone?
Great.
Good? Good. I want to tell you, I'm going to start out by telling you a little story. And I love the fact that when you come into this room or you sign online or you get the video delivered to you, there's something inherent about your belief in me as a conduit. Because you can't really stumble upon me unless you have some kind of frame of reference that I could be a good tool and that I can bring value to you. So it makes it easier for me to talk about things that might be a little bit more intimate, that if I'm in front of, 1,000 people or a few hundred people, I might have to temper the areas in which I go a little bit, because it's important that you already have some pre-knowledge, that you can have some faith in what I do and what I bring to you. But I'm going to go back to my earlier days when I learned how to communicate with guides. As I was learning to hear them and feel them and see them, simultaneously I was channeling the book, The Answers. I look back on it now and I can't believe that I hit the ground running, that I was practicing 2 hours at night to communicate with them, that I was learning how to see them and feel them. And I was doing all of this work like crazy. And at the same time, I was channeling this book. I didn't even know what channeling was. So I'm channeling a book, learning how to talk to them, being blown away by the content in the book. Having written a book like a human, I knew the difference, and I knew for sure this content wasn't coming from me. And so the whole process, I look back on, it's like, that's pretty intense, that I could do something I never heard of, which is channeling from souls without bodies, and learn to communicate with these souls without bodies on a regular basis, night and day, all at the same time, when I've never heard of anything like this. So that's a big deal. So for those of you who have known me a while, you probably know who authored The Answers. And I'll say it here, and I'm okay with saying that. I took the name off the book many, many years ago because I felt that the content stood alone. And if I put the name of the soul who I had channeled it from in that book, it would create such a distraction that it would take away from the value of the content in the book. So I took the name off. But some of you might know who I channeled from. And the soul, and a soul is a soul is a soul. We can know their name in the last incarnation, but that's not who they are infinitely. But in her last incarnation, the person that I channeled it from was Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand had a body of work that she left behind that had a profound effect on philosophical conversation and perspectives about government and personal responsibility and accountability and personal power. She was very, very controversial while she was alive, and she was a powerhouse. She was uncommon in her ability to exceed that which it is she was born into, and she really made an everlasting name for herself, because there still are millions of followers around the world that follow the branch of philosophy that was created by her belief system, which is called objectivism. Now, I'm telling you all this because, number one, she didn't call it objectivism, it was created, that name. But if you listen to the word objectivism, wow, that sounds pretty damn rational and pretty damn logical, right? Why would someone that spent their entire body of work and their whole human history helping to promote logic and analytical reasoning, how could that person now be a soul that's channeling spiritual wisdom through me and universal truth? Like there's a dichotomy there. There's a hole in that thought. So number one, I'm not going to say I was a fan of Ayn Rand when she came through, because I really wasn't a fan. I read a book. I remember it angered me because I think it was true. It was a true depiction of what life can be like on Earth when left unchecked. So it angered me. I was 20-something years old. But I would never say I'm a fan of Ayn Rand. I would never have gone out and told other people to get a book. I wasn't. It was just like any other book I'd ever read. I had a finite experience with the book. I had my reaction. Maybe it opened my mind to something, but who knows? It was nothing more than that. So when she came in and was telling me that it was her that was giving me the information, of course I was in a state of doubt, as any rational being would be. And I put her through hell, but there's no hell. She was dead anyway, so what difference does it make? So but I put her through a lot to prove her identity to me. The intention of the guides that were working with me was that I would know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was her soul I was channeling, because it was very important that I not have doubt. I could not be effective in what I do if I lived in perpetual doubt. So they knew they were going to figure out a way to prove her identity to me, and they did. And it was heady stuff. It was miraculous stuff. And when I got to the moment of knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was her, it was exhilarating. It was liberating. It was freeing. And it was very, very exciting. She's not the only soul that's allowed me to have that experience. There have been, let's call it scavenger hunts that I've been put on, where I could not have any knowledge of the outcome in order to get me from step to step to step to step to step to prove the identity of the soul that I was communicating with. And when I did realize beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was her, it created a lot of intrigue for me. Like, why, if objectivism was her body of work, why would she now come in and talk about the stuff that I was still beginning to think was, I was still not completely over spirituality being, woo-woo or unfounded or whatever. I was trying to reconcile that in my own head. I'm more sciencey than I am airy-fairy. So I was trying to reconcile, well, why, what are you doing here? Don't you know who you are, or why me, and why are you back? And her view was that in the purpose of life, it's a statement from the book, and she put it forth. The purpose of life is to love, to create, and to learn. In that order, there are no exceptions. I've spent 12 years with that sentence, and I've learned that it's true. The purpose of life is to love, to create, and to learn. In that order, there are no exceptions. When I was communicating with her back then, she explained that learning and creating are actually byproducts of the vibration of love, because you have to be in a vibration of love to create, and you also expand in your ability to give and receive love when you learn. So they're all three the same, but she extracted create and learn because they're meaningful extractions for us to understand their importance. Since I have started this work, I don't use the word learn. I use the word discover. Everybody knows I use the word discover. The reason is because we're not actually learning anything. All we're doing is recalling. So there's a big difference. She used the word learn, and when I went back and asked her after I had a little bit more of my own wisdom, why did you use the word learn instead of discover? She said, because people don't understand what the word discover means. They don't understand that you're unearthing that which exists already within you. So when I use the word learn, she is referring to the fact that we think we're here. Now we learn the alphabet. Now we learn math. Now we learn division. We see ourselves in the process of learning. And we also see that learning is good. We see it as learning is good. We also have these silly little things where I didn't learn my lesson yet. I didn't learn my lesson. It's going to be repeated. So we have a different concept of the word learn than it actually means in the context of that sentence. What we're doing really is discovering. We are remembering that which it is we knew before we were born and before we attained earth amnesia, where we forgot everything. Now, so what she said is, in my body of history, as Ayn Rand, one of her incarnations, I was very good at putting forth a discovery opportunity for people to grow in their ability to create and in their ability to learn. I did a great job. I expanded human awareness in those two areas. I forgot love. I didn't do love. And it's kind of interesting because she really didn't do love. She took a harsh stand. She's abrupt. She was critical. She was judgmental. She was very firm and strong about her belief about how to create a more profoundly excellent society and the individual within that society. And there wasn't something soft or warm or loving about her approach. It didn't exist. So she said, I think that I did a great job with the love and the the learn and the create part. But if I'm going to really finish up what I started, and I still hadn't yet opened for myself the importance of love, then I want to finish that. And I got you. You'll do it for me. So here we go. And that's how it came to be. But there's a part of this that, here's the reason I'm bringing it up, because there's a part of it that I actually want to talk about, and I want to do my very best to talk about it outside of the political arena. I don't enjoy talking about politics. I don't watch anything about politics. Trust me. I know what's happening, and I will continue to know what happens because I live and I breathe. You live, you breathe, you know. So I do that, but I don't get involved. I don't watch it on television. Anything truly that's important to get to me, it gets to me. And that's enough, because the political arena is not loving. It's simply not. I don't care what side you're on. I don't care where you fall. I don't care what your view is. It's not a loving environment. It's the opposite of loving. And so, I have to say, though, there was a part of something that I am in agreement with Ayn Rand about. And I don't think we have to see it as political. I think we can talk about it in the context of the purpose of life is to love, to create, and to learn. But one of the things that she strived to educate people on and to ignite within them is their own power. That we all have abilities, that we all have capabilities, we all have strengths. When we veer toward being taken care of, and when we veer toward being lazy and not pursuing what our own strengths and capabilities are, or even pursue going beyond what we might be modeling or beyond even what we think we're capable of. But when we stop and we get lazy, or we let other people take care of that which it is we can take care of ourselves, we wither. We wither as individuals, and we wither as a globe. So even though I felt her view, or her projection of her view, to be a little bit strong-handed and a little bit unforgiving and certainly not loving, I will say that it is important for us to recognize that part of the soul's journey when we land here in human form is to find out what we're made out of. It's to find out what we're made out of. And we are a hell of a lot made of a hell of a lot more than what we might suppose. So one thing I think, take politics out of it altogether, is that as a society and as individuals, one thing we really do want to focus on is increasing people's ability to find out what they're made out of, find their core strengths, find out their ability to be independent and self-reliant, to find out their ability to even expand in their knowingness of what it feels like to do anything from paying bills to feeding yourself to bringing people into cooperative agreements so that we could create something better than the individual. But that, I have to say, I think she was pretty accurate in predicting what the downfall of civilization could be. If people don't step up to the best of their own capabilities, not the weakest point of their capabilities, but the strongest points of their capabilities, if every individual doesn't step up, then it will be the downfall of civilization. Okay? That's not a political statement. In my, rough and wild childhood, I did become someone that seemed to be the one responsible for others in more ways than a child should be. So I learned to be hyper responsible for taking care of things that no child should be taking care of. Did I feel battered because of it? I didn't. I felt powerful. I felt capable. I felt strong. As a matter of fact, the thing which was handed to me at too young of an age, wound up being one of the qualities that emerged within me that helped me to survive the miserable aspects of childhood. Because if I didn't find all that power and strength within me, and that independence and that self-reliance and the ingenuity and the resilience, if I didn't find those things, then do you think I ever would have been able to become who I am standing before you today? No, I couldn't have. Those things emerge out of necessity, but there's a lot of pride in being able to be independent and resilient and filled with creative solutions to problems that others are just expecting to continue or expecting to be permanent. And I didn't have that option. My life depended on me not having that option. And I have no regret about it. The good thing about this is that I don't believe we have to have hardship in order to find those qualities. I don't believe we have to get, beat up or knocked around or spit on or stepped on or have get someone's feet wiped on you in order to find the qualities and the strengths that you have within you. Okay. But what can happen is if you get tossed around and tumbled a little bit, you might choose a portion of your journey to be an expression of feeling of blame or self-pity or, woe is me. And if you do that, what you're doing is you're not punishing anyone who could have brought you any harm. You're just not, because they don't care. What you're really doing is you're harming yourself, because you're dialing down your strengths and your capabilities, and you're dialing down what you are capable of executing in this lifetime. And I tell you, there's a school of thought here about, having lists and 17 points of goals that we want to meet every day and numerical outcomes as to how well we met the goals. And then you accumulate a week and accumulate a month and you get to see how much you did in a year. Well, if that's your thing, fine. That doesn't sound like fun to me. That sounds like a hell of a lot of work. But isn't there a balance in between that kind of execution of exactitude and tasks in the absence of fun, in comparison to saying, I got a lot in me and I can do a lot and I want to experience a lot and I want to contribute a lot and I want to be a lot, but I sure want to have a good time along the way. So I'll make the decision as to how much effort I'm going to put in. Is it 24/7? I'm not doing it. Guys, you go ahead if you want. I'm not in. Count me out. But I'm going to put in a lot about finding out what I'm capable of and how strong I am and how expansive I am and how much I can learn and grow and discover and build and be and affect. I'm happy to do all that. Am I going to do it to the point of zero fun? No, number one, I'm going to have fun while I'm doing it. That's not even up for question. I'm not having fun while I'm doing it. I'm just not going to do it. But I also have time to play. I have time to explore. I have time to do what I want to do. And sometimes that time increases and sometimes it decreases. But I do know and recognize that it's a choice. Where in what I'm doing here with you today, there were, I do the math, a rough 8-9 years where I didn't have any hobbies and I didn't have any social life. This is the truth. And the reason is because all of my passionate energy, all of my exploration, all of it went into this. And I wasn't unhappy. That's the point. It was an active choice. I knew I had put my hobbies on hold. I knew that I was not necessarily creating in an artsy kind of way or exploring in a kind of fun way that I love to explore. I knew that I had more of a myopic focus, a one-lane focus, but during that first 8 or 9 years, it felt like I was unstoppable in it. It didn't feel like there was something that was pulling me somewhere else to a different lane that I would prefer to be doing. There was no sacrifice in it. Okay. And so I did it and I loved it. And I got to the point where now I can add back in some of those other explorations in life that make me feel even more whole and more happy. There's more balance, there's more opportunity. And I do so without apology and I do so without permission. And it's okay because I haven't lessened my commitment to you or to, honestly, make the world a better place than I found it, because obviously that's what I'm doing. That is what I'm doing. That's my whole goal, make the world a better place than I found it. So I haven't lessened my resolve or my passion or my interest in it, but now I have time for more of my personal interests and curiosity to be a happy complement to this journey. And so as we're watching younger generations who are experiencing the byproduct of the changes in our society and the changes in parenting and schooling and so on, it's important for us to recognize that no matter how much people are creating fear for themselves and others, or smothering or suffocating children because we're afraid we're going to lose them, if we don't get back to empowering people and empowering our children, then society will die. It's the bottom line. If we don't empower our children, society will die. And that's what it's all about. Help people find the qualities within them. Help people find out that they can do it. Help people find out that they're interested and interesting. They can try their hand at something. You don't have to be perfect at everything. But when you find the things that you're curious about or interested in, it expands you and it expands your presence in this world. It makes the energy of you being here even more relevant and having more of an imprint and having more of an impact because you're choosing to be you. So that was my story. So that's something to think about. I hear a lot about how maybe people are, doing more with electronics or social media. If you're spending a lot of time with electronics and social media, it's a choice. But there's an opportunity cost in that. What is the opportunity cost in spending an excessive amount of time with electronics or a phone or social media? The opportunity cost is anything else you would do with your time. And if life is relatively short and we breeze in and we breeze out of this particular body, is that your legacy? Is that the definition of who you are and what your purpose is and what your value is to yourself and to others? So sometimes we got to think about, where are we putting our priorities? Where are we focusing and where are we encouraging others to focus? Every generation has to figure out the new world for them. We can't figure it out for the next generation any more than the generation before us could have figured out this world for us. But if we completely keep focused on that, when we have a positive ability to be of value or influence to others, if we just keep reminding people about the wholeness of the opportunity to be here on this planet and how much there is to see and to do and to be and to explore and to wonder about and to touch and feel and create, if we keep reminding people of that importance and we get people to put down a device and to go outside or, to unplug for a day or an hour or a month, whatever it is. It's part of the way that we can help people find the strengths and the qualities that are within them. It's so interesting how often I hear just these sweeping remarks that are showing that many people really don't care about finding the best of themselves. Like, what difference does it make? Or one thing after the other, who cares? Or whatever. Well, what the heck are you doing here? What are you doing here? Honestly, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Did you come here to just sit back and watch the world go by and then judge it and complain? Right? Is that what we're doing here? Watch it go by and then judge and complain? No. It's not about any particular achievement. At the end of the day, when you return back home, you don't care if you amassed an empire or if you amassed a tiny little hut with a spear and a palm tree. You don't care about amassing anything. What you do care about is how you lived, how your presence is, what you achieved based on your own strengths and characteristics. And if what you achieved even was a sense of peace and happiness more than people around you, and you can model that to other people, then that's a pretty big achievement in comparison to what a lot of us are giving us here. Okay? And that's what we want to think about. We want to think about what are you made out of? What are you made out of? If you find out what you're made out of by choice, then you don't need the universe to boost your ability to figure it out by sending you hardships. Hardships are designed to awaken us. They're not designed to beat us. Any hardship is an opportunity. That's a knock on your door from the universe to say, sorry, but you forgot this. Just open the door, grab it, and run with it. That's what it's all about. Energy doesn't decide. Energy reflects. Energy does not decide. Energy reflects. You know how when you get into a really incredible dream and then you wake up and you realize how real you thought it was. Sometimes you even have to pop yourself out of the dream because it's so consuming. That's what this is. This is a dream here. It's just a longer, more believable, many chaptered dream. But that's what it is. Is this dream going to be something that you feel you took advantage of and made the most out of this opportunity? You're never coming here again like this. You're probably going to come here again. Sorry to tell you. But you're not coming here again like this. Kenneth, you will never be in that body again. You will never be that tall. Your teeth will probably never be that straight and that white.
Sad thought. It could be better, it could be a lot worse.
Exactly. You know, but it'll be different. So why not take what is now and take advantage of that? Because you are not coming this way again in this body, at this level of awareness, at this level of curiosity, at this level of having fuel within you that you can use or you can store it inside and do nothing with it. I remember when I was in 8th grade and we learned in science about potential energy. I honestly didn't get the concept, but as an 8th grader, I think you're pretty young, right? I thought it was a cop-out. I thought scientists were like, we don't really understand energy whatsoever. So when we'll have a catch-all phrase for when energy is not being expended, and we'll call it potential energy. And some weird way, I thought that's what was up, you know? When in doubt, make it up. But I realized that we all have this incredible, limitless potential energy. And it's not as quick as saying, are you living up to your potential? It's more of, we have this enormous potential energy within us. What are you doing with it? Is it a little fuel cell sitting inside your gut? And then when you die, you just take it back home with you? Oh, look at all of that potential energy I had that I didn't use. Wow, life was good. No, burn through it. Come on. Let's use it up. Let's use up our potential energy and exact and express and have fun with expressing all of this energy on this planet. Let's do it. Just keep doing it. Any questions, anyone? Yeah, the guy with the straight teeth and very tall.
What was I gonna say was, this reminds me of I heard a phrase once: if you can't, what was it? If you can't get out, go all in, or something like that. Which means if you're stuck in a situation that you're not exactly happy with, just put your all into it and just go right in, go head first, you know, because if you can't get out of it, it's like,
Might as well just be in it.
Just be in it and
Exactly.
get into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get dirty.
Yeah. One of the strange byproducts of enlightenment that I found, because I didn't expect it at the level that I have it, but acceptance is instantaneous for me. And I look at the things that I accept instantaneously, and I'm blown away by the fact that I didn't process and fight and resist and try to change and have sleepless nights over. I go from A to Z like that. I don't even think about it anymore. I
Nothing under the
accept
sun.
because there's nothing to fight. You know, there really is. There's nothing to fight. We're fighting and we're fighting and we're fighting and we're fighting. We're fighting everything. We're fighting. We want something faster. We're fighting. We don't want it at all. We're fighting a lack of self-love. We're fighting you. We're fighting you. We're fighting this. We're fighting that. We're fighting the weather. We're fighting. We're constantly fighting. And there's nothing to fight. When you stop fighting, life is so good. And I'm not a doormat. I'm not a wimp. But I don't have anything to fight. There's nothing to fight. Life is good. And I go with the flow of it. Life is good. And I just go with the flow of it. And that's what everybody has the capability of doing. I get that the fight is all about we're trying to rediscover that which it is we knew when we were born. And I get that we get, stomped on a bit when we're young. We all do. It's a matter of how thoroughly and by how many sources. We all get stomped on. And it takes some effort to grow that back, to grow back our re-identification with truth. And as you do that, you expand into knowing how to accept things, knowing how to not fight, knowing how to be happy and feel happy, and don't even fight happiness, but to allow it, and to understand what peace feels like, to understand what it's like to be happy in the moment. Probably the biggest challenge for me right now is that I live so much in the moment that I think that it might be disconcerting for other people because I'm so present, but the people that aren't present with me kind of have an expectation of how I should be with them or doing something with them or for them, but I'm not, because I'm right here. And this is the only place I am, is right here. Whomever I'm with, that's where I am. Or whatever. I don't care if I'm with a bird or a blade of grass or I'm with someone doing a session. That's where I am. I'm right there. I'm right there. Most of you realize that I really don't use my cell phone except for a tool to stay in my body because I need that tool, I'm here, I'm not here, but I don't have apps on it. I don't really text. It's a tool. I use GPS. I use my calendar because they make me more able to be present to you or present to you or present to you. So it's a form of convenience for me, but it's not my life. I don't know that I ever pick up my phone when it's not doing something to get my attention, like buzz, buzz, buzz. If it's not doing something, I don't really care. I go hours without even knowing where it is, to the dismay of many people. I don't really care where it is. Hopefully I didn't turn it off in a session so that when you ring it, I can actually find it, because how many times do we try ringing it and I have no idea where it is because I never cared where it is. This is actually not my life. This is not my life. This is a device that I use as a tool as little bit as I can to make my life easier and make your life a little easier too. That's all it is. It's just a tool. That's all it is. It's no different than the shovel that I used to plant my garden. That was a tool, and that gave me a lot more pleasure. That tool. Good. Yeah. I dropped it. Good thing I didn't step on it to prove my point, right? By the way, the background today is a preview. Oh, it is. It's Grenada, isn't it? We're in Grenada. Welcome to Grenada. It is Grenada. Wow, this is exactly where we're going. Waterfall, water. It's beautiful. Palm tree. Oh, this is so nice. It's so nice. I'm so glad you guys could come down with me for this preview evening in Grenada so you can see what to expect when we're there again in January. So nice to be in Grenada. That's so cool. Glad I noticed. Yay. All right, it's after 8 o'clock, so I'm going to let you guys mingle and take a break, and we'll come back with the building block of the month and then questions. All
Yeah, I'm behind you.
right, everybody.
Right, it's just- Wow, nice. Very nice.
Welcome back.
One more.
Hopefully your guides came back too.
One more.
Thank you. Looks like a pretty sunset out there.
Is it?
Yeah. Doesn't it look interesting? It's surreal, right? All right, hi everybody. Let's see. Wow, a lot of questions. A lot of curiosity in here, huh? All right, I do have one question online too, but I don't know if I know how to scroll. Oh, geez. Okay. Oh, darn it. Okay. Don't mind me. I'm attempting technology. Okay. Okay, so let's dig in. First of all, I didn't realize it, but they gave us the building block for the month. I just didn't get it like formally and tell it to you formally. So I will formally tell you the building block of the month is find out what you're made out of, okay? And do so with intention so you don't need negative catalysts to help you discover exactly everything that you've got inside of you. And in addition to finding out what you're made out of with intention, also ignite the ability of others too as well. So not with criticism, but by enticing people to find out that they're far more capable than they may have supposed. The easiest way to do that is to give them back their responsibilities, the ones that they can manage, even if they don't think they can manage them. And a better additive way to do that is to also help them by doing less before you do too much for them and letting them participate in their own creation, their own discovery, their own everything. And it doesn't matter if somebody is 71 or 17 or 7. We can always help people ignite what is truly inside their potentiality, their potential energy that's locked inside. Okay? And doesn't it sound more fun to find out what you're made out of while you're here in this body than to disregard it or be just a passive observer in life? I feel like each of us is so unique and so original. I'm certainly not interested in watching you watch life go by. I find it much more interesting to watch you do life and see what you're all about. That's a lot more fun for all of us, right?
Right.
Okay, right. Okay, so let's continue. I'll go through the questions. But there was one other thing that I wanted to mention, and again, I'm going to try to keep this not political, but I started out with the springboard of the idea of objectivism and self-reliance and the power of the individual. as each person becomes more strong in their self-knowledge and they become more self-loving and more self-reliant, society as a whole will get stronger. And when every person is self-loving, all of the negative consequences of living in ego instead of in the soul, they dissolve. We don't even have to beat up on anybody or anything, because ego dissolves when we all become more self-loving and more self-reliant and more able to find out all the power that we have inside. But there is a backdrop of growing inequity that makes our ability to follow older schools of thought, it's increasingly challenging. And what that is that there is a growing, and we know this, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but there is a growing gap between the uber wealthy and the more common blue collar worker or white collar worker or middle class or lower class. The gap is widening. And I truly believe, as an entrepreneur, I know that I get all of the reward for my entrepreneurialism. Nobody pays my health insurance. Nobody pays my salary. Nobody gives me a paid vacation. I don't get a paid day off. I just don't. So I get that. I get all of the risk of being an entrepreneur. I get all of the risk, okay? The world goes on. My mortgage goes on. My kids eat. They go to college, and everything keeps spinning regardless of how good I am at my job or not. No one's going to pay me to get anything done. I get that part of it. But I also get that when you are self-employed or you are on the top of the economic food chain, that there's still a code of honor that is soulful. And that is, I may be using a different kind of strength or characteristic or quality or education or experience in order to be able to manage many, many, many people in my downstream that are contributing to my wealth. But back, when you're looking back on the American dream, there was a larger fairness about that distribution of profit. And what was happening is that more so when an owner or someone at the more executive positions, when they achieved more and more abundance, that abundance flowed. And it flowed through the entire workforce, and it flowed through the vendors, and it flowed through all the way to the consumers. Right now, the focus is become more egoic, that there's more of a sense of entitlement, that if you're doing backbreaking work and you're running a multinational or multi-billion-dollar company, that means that your slice of the pie should be, 743 million and a bonus for that year. It doesn't make sense. The hell are you going to do with 743 million while your employees are having a hard time simply, literally getting food on the table and paying for health care and getting their kids educated and paying for a car and paying for gas and paying the mortgage and buying shoes and buying more shoes and then more shoes? Why? How many millions will make you happy? When do we stop living in this disconnect of ego versus soul? One of my favorite stories when I was younger, there was, everyone know what Polar Tech is? So
Yeah.
Polar Tech, basically we call it fleece now,
Yeah.
right? So Polar Tech was the original company that patented the fabric that makes it less weighty to protect yourself against the elements. And I think the company was in Vermont, if I'm not mistaken. And the owner was, he grew that company and it became very, very popular and fashionable and definitely element friendly. So lots of buyers were scooping up Polar Tech fleece. And so his company burgeoned, and ultimately his company became the economy for the entire town. Virtually every time someone pumped gas or someone went and brought home 20 bags of groceries, ultimately Polar Tech is what paid for everything, even trickled down then. You're working in a bank, you might not be working for Polar Tech, but the only reason you're working for a bank is because people are saving and getting mortgages and buying houses from the income that they're making at Polar Tech. So it was really incredible. I think they said something like 70% of the economy was based on that. I might be wrong about that number, but it was definitely more than the majority. And one day, his plant burned down, gone, nothing there, absolutely nothing. So the following day, the town was unemployed. Virtually unemployed. I mean, maybe only 30% of the people were working there, but the trickle down, 70% of the economy. And you want to know what this man did? If no one has heard this story before, he paid everyone's salary. I think a percentage of their salary, but it was a pretty high percentage. And I don't really remember the details. Anyone that wants to look it up and bring it back to me next time, that's terrific. Something like 70% of everybody's salaries he paid during the entire time the plant was being rebuilt. The entire time he paid it. And I think back and I remember reading the story, and it was decades ago now that I read the story, but even as a younger person who didn't understand economy at the level, economics, the way that I do now, I was crying when I read it. I mean, this guy is my hero. He's my hero because he lives in honor and he lives in love and he lives looking at the bigger picture over looking at a selfish pursuit or a selfish intent. That guy could have grabbed a yacht. I don't know if you could put a yacht in the water in Vermont. Maybe that's what the problem was, right? Maybe he wasn't altruistic. Maybe he just couldn't get his yacht in the water in a little lake in Vermont. He could have grabbed a boat or a plane and gotten out of Dodge and lived happily ever after and on the Riviera or wherever he wanted to. He didn't have to rebuild. He had more than enough money, but he did. He rebuilt and he allowed that company to thrive, and every employee and every trickle down of the employees to grow. They showed up and they worked, and he rewarded the fact that they showed up and they worked. And the craftsmanship and the quality of what they produced was partially based on the loyalty that his employees felt for him. He didn't pay for their salaries while the plant was being rebuilt because he wanted their loyalty. He did it because he was an honorable man. And honor is what I feel is lacking in corporate America today. And if we're not living in honor, then we're going to have growing challenges and growing heated arguments among political classes and social classes and races and everything. Because people are, on some level, they're afraid. And they treat society now as being a finite pool of resources and abundance. And the bigger slice they get, that somebody gets, the smaller slice they get. Resources and abundance are not finite. When you expand your resources, everybody expands. And it's really important that we change the mindset from being a slice of pie, that abundance is a slice of pie, and the more you get, the less other people get, or the more they get, the less you get. It doesn't work that way. As you can see, even by the example of this company, the bank tellers were paid because people worked at his plant. Kids went to college because people worked at that plant. Gas stations pumped gas because people worked at that. So he didn't take a piece of the money and leave the community destitute. The contribution was propagating more and more and more abundance. And that's the true state of how economics is designed to work, and will, uncontrived, will work. But it means that people who are in a position of power, that they learn to live in honor again, and that they learn to appreciate and value the effort that goes into creating the wealth that it is that they are receiving. So in present day America, where this is not going to cure itself, unfortunately. It's not going to cure itself. Huh?
there was some trying to help. There was a business entrepreneur, a billionaire, who just this past spring, he paid off all the tuitions for the graduating class.
Yeah, I know that there will always be altruistic people who can make a difference, but
Yeah.
part of it is that every person has to stand up for what they know to be true, okay? And to keep standing up for what they know to be true. And what we know to be true, it's not about telling people what to do with their money, but it's encouraging people to get back to soulfulness and living in the heart and living and knowing that the abundance expands, it doesn't contract. Abundance expands, it doesn't contract. I mean, even think about yourself. If you had a windfall of money and you knew that that was going to perpetually propagate, all of a sudden your tips are a little bit more, your generosity is a little bit more, your gift giving is a little bit more. You know, you're putting that money back into places where other people can make value of it, and it will continue to propagate. It'll make another $10 and another $10 and another $10. And then the other part of it, and again, it's not to be political, but it's just a state of fact, a fact of energy. The fact of energy is that with a system of lobbyists, as long as our government is not actually running the country, stop turning to your government for the answers, because they're not doing squat with it. They're not. The power is in the hands of the people. You have a very limited amount of power when you go to the polls and you vote. A very, very, very limited amount of power. The power right now is among people who are greedy and who own politics in every way that you possibly can. Let's get Mr. Smith to Washington again. I don't give a shit what political party they are. I really don't care. I don't care. But what we do need is we need to be governed by the people again and not governed by corporate conglomerates. Okay? And that's how we'll be able to get back to people feeling optimistic and fueled with possibility and believing that their lives can be even more advanced than their parents were, and to have hope and to believe again in the American dream and to have the American dream exist. Right now, it doesn't exist. It really doesn't. So that is a fact. That's energy. Energy goes where energy flows. The money is not flowing to the people. The money is flowing to a few men. Sorry, men. We were all men once, so it's no criticism of you. Right?
Never heard that one.
What?
We were all men.
Huh?
We were all men at one
We were all, yeah. I could go through your past lives, and I'm going to find everyone being a man here at one point or another,
That's true.
you know? And so that's the reason I'm okay with joking about, white man privilege, because I'm sure at one point or another I had white man privilege too. It's stupid though, right? It's so stupid. It's just so stupid. No one should have any entitlement or privilege. Earn your life. Go earn your life by being what you are, what you're capable of. It goes back to what we talked about, the building block of the day. Find out what you're made out of, and then go earn your life. Whether you're white, black, striped, I don't care. Just go live fully. All right. And what? Earn. So is collective consciousness moving towards love, peace, and harmony? How much longer till we tilt the scale above the line? That's a really good question. One I've been pushing for 10 years. There is an incredible tipping point, if they called it, are we tilting in that direction? But there is a tipping point, and it's happening faster than we think it is. And what it is that I'm not qualified to hold these papers. I'm clearly not qualified. I'm going to put the papers down. Okay. All right. Now, all right. I've said this before. I think I started predicting this one in 2012. So I'll continue with the prediction because it's not coming in any differently anymore. But at some point during and after 2020. The vibrational energy of people on Earth that are living above the line will exceed that of the vibrational energy of those living below the line. Now, this is very, very important. It's an important distinction. If you think of vibrational energy as a ball or a sphere, if my vibrational energy has, suppose it grew tenfold in the last 10 years, right? That's a mighty star in comparison to where it was 10 years ago, right? Now that star will eclipse the vibrational energy of a lot more peas or whatever else you want to use it than they did 10 years ago, right? So my vibrational energy living above the line can now eclipse thousands more than it did 10 years ago because of my intentional growth, my intentional discovery, my intentional increasing my positive level of awareness, right? So there are so many people that are becoming these beacons that as all of us are getting to the point of being above the line and providing higher levels of awareness to model possibility to others, the entire vibrational energy above the line will, for the first time in modern history, exceed that of the combined energy of all the little peas below the line. And that's the tipping point. That's the tipping point. Every single thing as we know it on Earth will change when that tipping point gets hit. Everything will change. Everything you know will change. Everything you know will change. Okay? So, just like people are like, oh, well, I live in New York. Why do I have to vote? The outcome is already decided. No, that's not true. You have to keep showing up. You have to keep showing up. You have to keep being the best version of yourself when you're out in public, when you're with your family, when you're at work. You have to keep showing up as the beacon that you are capable of being. You don't have the right to get lazy about this. You got to keep being your own personal best because that will help us reach the tipping point more quickly. And the more happens, all of that flow of goodness and wonderfulness and peace and love and happiness will come right back to you as well as going to everybody else. So the answer is we can hustle it along is the answer to that question. We can make it move more quickly. All right. And I don't think that we have to be perfect and we're not infallible. But you know what? For sure, go back and apologize if you did something that wasn't loving. Go back with an explanation if you were an ass. Go back and make amends to something that it was interesting. I was on a business trip and I bought gas and I was in a incredibly rural and poor area. And the clerk, he was this young man, probably mid-20s, just this beautiful shining face and eyes. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful. And I always want people to feel good, so I will give true compliments. I don't make anything up. If I don't feel it, I can't say it because I come across as a liar and a fraud, so I don't do it. So I looked at this kid and I was like, I really love your art. And I was looking at some of his tattoos on his arms, and he got very shy, and he looked like, at first, like such a confident, tough guy, right? And he got very shy when I was paying, and he said, he's like, oh, and he was hiding them then. He's like, oh, they're not as far along as they should be. And I'm like, well, oh, what do you mean? And he's like, well, he's like, it's like expensive. And I kind of always thought I'd have them finished more. So don't look at them right now. And he's like, this has taken years. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad. If I had one of those tattoos, I would just go get it finished, right? This guy's working for me to pump my gas, and he has no sight line in front of him where he's going to get one of these tattoos finished. And that's his passion and that's his life. Is that really too much to ask to let the kid get a tattoo finished, right? So sometimes I get very cerebral when these things happen because I'm always thinking about how can I make the world a better place. And so sometimes I forget to actually take the action there. And this was one of those things I regret. I regret that I got back in the car And when I got back in the car and drove away is when I realized, why didn't I just tip the kid and say, you know what, I'm putting this in your tattoo abundance file. And he would just feel like, oh my God, it might change things around for him. He might have been filled with possibility instead of hopelessness, right? And I so regretted not doing that, to the point that I had my head on the pillow in the hotel that night thinking, I wish I knew what gas station I was at so I could identify this kid and send him money and say, I can't get you off my mind. I just want to make a contribution to your tattoo fund. I don't know why I went into that story. I don't know.
Sorry.
I'm sure we've all done those things. I certainly have.
Right.
It was to give us an example of how we can help society.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I knew there was a point. Right? And it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing for us. But if you could be that spark in another person's life when they least expect it, it changes everything. I can remember every single person that was kind to me when I was a kid when they didn't need to be.
Oh, wow.
Love that.
I can space it. I know exactly. They kept my soul's candle lit. That's how I got through childhood, was those little moments, right? Be that moment. You don't know if you're the one keeping someone's soul's candle lit. You just don't know if it's only you. It could be only you.
Another example.
That's okay.
I wish I had help here because I don't know what I'm doing.
You have your guys help.
Okay, I'll do this. I know I read one already, right?
Yes.
Or two. Okay, you know what? I want to talk about, it's an answer to a question here, but I'm going to just generalize an answer for someone at home also. Timeline. Okay. We're doing all the right things. What we're concentrating on, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're believing, and the subsequent actions that we take in order to meet a goal that we have an intention of meeting, right? And then we're like, oh my, I thought we'd be here. I thought it would be here already. And you get frustrated, and it makes you lose some faith, and sometimes it's discouraging, or makes you maybe not even believe in the process of energy to begin with, or the manifestation of reality to begin with. And what I can tell you is that, moving toward a goal, it's so important that you really pull down and pull apart that formula that I give you all the time. It's not just a matter of saying, what am I thinking, what am I feeling, what am I believing, and then what are the subsequent actions that I'm taking based on what I am thinking and feeling and believing. It's a matter of really digging in sometimes. So oftentimes the energy that's in question, the one that seems to be sabotaging what comes after the equal sign, is your beliefs. And beliefs are based on such an enormous number of factors of things that we're exposed to throughout our life. So for example, if you played guitar when you were a kid and you put the guitar down and do your math homework, and then you played the guitar, and then he's like, put the math on, walk the dog, and every time the freaking guitar made a sound, he's like, blah, 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 blah. Well, you now have a very firm belief that playing guitar is superfluous, meaningless, will never lead anyone to abundance, and only losers and lazy people play. How do you really expect to be in a band that's going to make millions? You're not, because you have a belief that's contrary to that reality. Do you follow me? So it's the beliefs that usually is the silent killer of a dream. If in doubt, check out the hidden unconscious beliefs that you're holding, okay? And as far as timeline, the more you follow this system, there's a balance in creating reality in addition to the energies of that formula, is that part of it is to envision where you want to go and believe it's possible. But the other half is living in surrender. Because if you don't live in surrender to it, it's never going to happen. because we micromanage things. We're control freaks. We got to control everything, including the timeline. You got to have a dream and believe it and envision it and put some thoughts and feelings and energy and actions toward it. Then let it go. Let it go. Don't suffocate it. You will smother it to death. Got to let it breathe by giving it time, by giving it space, by letting it be. So part of your timeline is about the management of those two energies, having the creation of what you're thinking, feeling, believing, and the actions that you're taking to create your vision, but then letting it go. Letting it go. If you really believe we are all connected and that we are one, and that there is one consciousness and all that, then you got to surrender to it. You got to let them do their job. Life is so much easier if you let the universe and your guides pick up 50% of the hard work. But you got to hand it off to them in order to let them get it done. Okay? Control never got us anything but ulcers.
All these answers are excellent.
This is funny. I just kicked this one off. How do I go about changing a belief I have if I'm the kind of person who almost always needs proof in order to believe? Oh, gosh, I pretty much answered this one, I think. For example, growing up believing money does not grow on trees, and if you need to conserve money, that you need to conserve money. I would like to disprove this, or at least believe the opposite. What I say is you take a very specific example of a misbelief, and you prove a small version of it so that you have evidence. And since energy doesn't lie, it just mirrors what's going on, then a small opportunity, a small win, a small bit of success will help you to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it works. So if you're trying to get past scarcity, for example, you're not going to go, universe, bring me $1 million. You're going to say, universe, bring me an unexpected $10. Then you see how the win comes, and then you're able to see, wow, that was easy, or that worked. And you build, and then you increase, and you increase, and you increase. And that's how it works. And that's how you get rid of your need to constantly prove. And listen, I told you I was the worst doubting Tom. What I put guides through to prove the things that they told me and prove their identities. I mean, I honestly don't know why some of them just didn't walk away. Well, fly away, dissolve, disappear, take care of something else. They were taking care of other things, but they stuck with me anyway. Stubborn, annoying, prove it, yelling at them. I cursed at them. I was horrible. Yet they proved it just by being consistent and me having the belief in its possibility. I couldn't determine how the answers came unless I believed that it was possible that the answers did come. Yeah, look how well they're doing with it too. Yeah, so that's it. You just have to believe that it's possible, that the evidence exists, and then the evidence will come. It doesn't have to go in that. It doesn't have to go to the magnitude in which you are wanting or expecting. So look for the small wins. You build up your small wins, and eventually all wins are wins. I always tell people to record your successes and your wins and the whispers from the universe and the messages and the insights and the synchronicities and the coincidences. When you record them, you think you have a good memory. You don't. Go back in 21 days and read what you recorded, and you're like, oh, I forgot that happened. Even though you dialed all your friends and told them what happened, 21 days later, you don't remember it. So if you don't jot it down, you don't even get to know how much you've won already. Got to jot it down. I jotted it down, and that's how I knew the profundity of my wins. And that's how I grew and developed past being a doubter. All right, can you please talk about the importance of creating nurturing and peaceful environments for others or for groups of people? There are some people that life is a spark of fire for them, and they really have a tremendous amount of energy, and they're going to bring that vibrancy into every circumstance and every situation. But sometimes one person's definition of peace is not another person's definition of peace. Peace doesn't necessarily mean tranquility. What peace means is that I'm not irritated and aggravated and stressed. So someone could be very vibrant and dancing and playing and being loud and having a megaphone, but they could also be at peace because there's no agitation and they feel very comfortable in their own skin. So we want to make sure that we're not over defining peace as being tranquil. Peace means not living in fret, not living in worry, not living in stress. As far as living in calm and finding the benefit of tranquility and calm or meditation or yoga, I think what we want to do is if we have a smaller audience or a smaller group of people or one person, if you can intuit what makes them feel a spark of curiosity or joy, you can show them a way to find that in a calm way rather than through some sort of agitation. So it's just a matter of if someone likes science, you point something out that's calm but has to do with science. If somebody likes math, you point something out that has to do with math. If somebody really loves guitar, you point something out that has to do with guitar. In order for someone to accept that something has benefit, you want to go into their lane and not expect them to come in your lane. I think one of the biggest challenges with gurus out there is that they oftentimes, not all of them, but they oftentimes are myopic about their way is the only way. Nothing's farther than the truth. No one's way is the right way. It's a matter of everybody finding something that is a vibrational match to them and what matches their personality and their strengths and their interests and their curiosity. Okay? There's no one size fits all in the pathway to enlightenment or peace or happiness or joy. Not at all. If you notice, I don't at all. I don't endorse anything. You guys ever notice that? No endorsement going on here. Zero. I don't endorse anything because there is no one way to get to where I am. I don't even beat anybody over the head saying my way is the way. Here's what you have to do. Here's what worked for me. I tell you things that work for me. And if you want to try it and it's a possible path for you, I welcome your joy. I need more people that are joyful on this planet to share with me because there aren't enough. I lost track of myself. Where are we with time?
8:55.
8:55. Okay, so I have more time. All right, this question, it just has part A, B, C, and D, and I don't think that I can get to all of them. So let me just see if there's one that I can get to more. Of course I picked this one up. How can we help you, Karen Garvey, to get you out in the world? I want a lot of ideas. Whoever wrote this, that's funny.
That is awesome.
That's so funny. I wonder who wrote that. How can you help me get out there? As I get out there more and more, I really honestly do believe that I'm going to just continue to put ripples out there that make the world a better place. And anybody that has any suggestions about, a show or a TV show or a performance or a magazine or anything that could help me to get more of the word out there, I would appreciate it. The world's a different place now than when I started this 10 years ago. I had to try very hard to kind of mainstream the way I deliver my concepts, but people have caught up to me a lot more. And I think they're more ready for me. And somehow, some way, even though this stuff might often sound a little bit out there, the truth is, I believe that I have enough confidence to deliver it in a way that it's resonating because it's truth. So I'm not making something wacky out of truth. I'm not telling you to face south and bend a knee and hold a purple crystal. It's just not that way. It's just, this is truth.
Well, the interesting thing when we talk about politics before is Marianne Williams. She's got both sides completely confused.
Yeah.
Got both sides completely confused.
I am so appreciative of her making a presence on the national front. However, not every person that makes a presence has the understanding necessarily of how to deliver universal wisdom in a way that it can be accepted. And it is a matter of using intuition to understand your audience and understand how far you can go, and that's essential. That's essential.
She can practice.
Yeah. But it's great because she's opened doors for the wonderful possibility of more people who have a true connection to universal truth to be able to come and make a difference. And I think that's an amazing byproduct of her intention and her actions. Bless you. All right. My only advice to this person, and I don't give advice, could you just improve your handwriting a little bit? I'm going to try it again. Okay. Well, first, I think I figured it out. If I am destined to work to earn, do you see any changes in my overall plan? Okay. No one is destined to work to earn. Okay. We have set up this whole money system that we all agree to now, and we all believe. It's a funny little system, isn't it? You know, it used to just be shells, just so we could have a common language, and now we've done this whole entire complicated thing where money is more important than a heartbeat to some people, and it's really just not true. Abundance can flow in many different ways, and this paradigm that we have created about the way we need to earn to live abundantly, we can pull one stitch out of the sweater and the whole sweater will come undone, right? As we're beginning to find as certain careers and things are just dissolving and everything is shifting. So there's a few schools of thought. Number one, seriously think about what you really want in your life. And if you really focus on the quality of life that you want and not about necessarily dollars and cents, you can bring abundance to you and that flow of energy through a lot of different possibilities, not just necessarily through the linear idea of work and paycheck. That's number one. When I started to allow abundance, I had a couple of really quirky things happen, like somebody put my name in on a radio station and I got a phone call. I was about to leave. I was going to the bank and I was dressed. I had my keys in my hand and I was walking out, and this is so out of character for me, but I just said, you know what? I don't really feel like going. And I took my coat off and I put my keys down, which I swear to you, I've never done before or after. Once your coat's on, your errand is over, right? And there was something I wanted to do. I had been working on something on a wall, painting, and I just so much wanted to get back to that I decided not to go to the bank. And with this, I'm home 5 minutes and the phone rings, and it's a radio station telling me someone telling me I was just announced on a radio that I had 10 minutes to call to win. And I thought it was a prank. I thought I was on a hidden camera show. And the time was ticking really fast. So I call and I said, I'm Karen Garvey. You called my name. And they're like, yes, you had 3 minutes left and you have won $1,000. And I was like, all right, universe, I believe you. I get it. Yeah. So now 100,000 will do. So I'm not going to the bank ever again. I'm just going to sit home and paint. So that's apparently how it works. If I just stay home and paint, money will just keep rolling in. But you get it. It's about, if you open up to how you want to live and don't narrow your focus in how you think you're going to put it all together, the universe can show you creative opportunities that are more a match with your soul's intention than trying to control the way that you get to that point of abundance. Okay? And I think I'm probably out of time. All right.
How'd the radio station get your name?
So a cousin in New Jersey, she had, her husband said, don't you win another thing because she wins so much. He's like, I pay taxes every year. You use half the stuff you win. So she put my name in and a few other people. I didn't even know it. I did not even know it. Didn't even know it. As I was moving from scarcity to abundance, this happened. Like, how does that happen, right? Guess I'm not going to do that question.
So can I just say one
Oh,
thing?
I forgot to tell you where I'll be and all that. All right, in northern New Jersey, I'll be doing Rocket Blast. I did Rocket Blast locally, and I'll be doing that in northern New Jersey. And that is in September, October, November, and December, one Monday. It's during the day on Mondays. Rocket Blast, did anyone in this just take it? Did you enjoy Rocket Blast?
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, all right. Rocket Blast it takes 10 years worth of the tools that I have discovered and puts it into a 4-month program so that any goal you set your mind to, you can achieve, period. Nothing left unturned. You put your mind to it, and all of the tools come through in the 4 months, everything you need. It's like a packed box. You just unpack the box. It's fun. It's a fun class. It's very fun. It's an intense class. It's not for the weak-hearted. Then I have I'll be back at the spa, the lodge at Woodlock in September, and I'll be there again in November. And
When are you gonna be in September? At the lodge?
at the lodge, when? The 27th through that weekend, the weekend of the 27th. You're gonna go?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out,
Oh, cool.
somebody got me a weekend.
Wow, come that weekend. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell them that you're there to see me. Okay? I was there once. Marion Williamson was there the week before me, and then I came.
Oh, wow.
And everybody was so excited that it was me there, not her.
Serious?
Okay. I had to make a joke, but this did happen. Though I came the week after her. She was there on a Sunday, and I was there on that Friday, so I got to hear all the juicy details, all of them. November 7th is the private viewing of The Shack with author Paul Young. You can buy tickets through me. That's in Ronkonkoma, Thursday night. Saturday is the event with Paul Young as the speaker, the author of The Shack, and I'll be one of the speakers that day as well. It's an all-day event at Stonebridge Country Club. Hop Hog. Did I say something?
That's Cambridge.
Yes. And don't forget your big one.
I'll look it up on the map that morning.
Don't forget your January trip.
In January, we're all in this room going to Grenada. Okay. That's going to be a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful trip. And I wrote it somewhere, I think in my newsletter this month, is that I don't travel as a tourist. I never have. I never will. I don't like being a tourist. When I go somewhere, I want to live and breathe and be exactly like people live and breathe and be. And we have people that are really looking forward to us coming, and they're going to be cooking for us. They're going to be taking us on trips. They're going to show us the Grenadian way. They're going to be showing us their arts, their music, their food. And I'm talking, we're not doing any tourism there. If you want to be a tourist, you'll have to go back on another trip. But if you want to see what Grenada is really like, come with me. And we'll be doing lots and lots and lots of awakening seminars as well. Okay. Come rested, please. Come rested, because it's going to be busy. It's going to be packed. It's going to be packed. So come rested. Don't think of this as your lollygagging beach vacation. Okay. Well.
Making discoveries. September 11th.
It's we have you can opt out of all of your outings are included in your cost. Everything is included, so don't worry about that. But if you need to stay back and go to the beach, you're welcome. There's also where we're staying, there's snorkeling and sun fishing and stuff.
What's that? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a sail.
Sailboat?
Small sail.
Okay. All right. Making sure.
And there's a waterfall at the water. There's fish in the pool. No, there's no fish in the pool. It's very, very pretty, actually.
Making discoveries at 9/11.
9/11. I love when events fall on 9/11. We're gonna have a blast on 9/11. I want to see all of you here on 9/11. Back here, is that New York City?
That's here in New York City is September 9th.
September 9th in New York City.
9/9, good number.
9/9, and then 9/11, huh? On the roof. We have good weather. Last month's meeting in the city was on the roof. I mean, it honestly, I've been to a lot of rooftops in Manhattan, and it honestly is one of the nicest views I've ever seen anywhere in my entire life at that building. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You just got to experience it. And so we had our meeting.
What time does that start?
We had our whole meeting on the roof last time, right?
6:45?
6:45 is what I say because New Yorkers are different. And I start at 7, but it always says 6:45.
But you can hang out up there early.
Yeah, you can go early. Yeah. We really start at 7. I tell everybody in the city it's 6:45 because that's just the way they are there. And they come from New Jersey and all sorts of, a lot of, you guys get a bus. Go get that Partridge Family bus and all come in together, I'll lay down in the street to hold the parking spot for you until you get there. Okay?
Can I just say one thing?
And also, anything else?
Happy and 90.
Happy and 90. happyand90.com. You'll be happier in 90 days than you are when you begin the program. I guarantee it.
Hey, can I just say
What?
So one of the questions was, how can we help Karen? And one of the ways that we could all do it, it's simple, is share her quotes.
Aw, thank
on
you.
Facebook.
Oh, that's such a nice idea.
Because if we
that
share
does
our
help.
quotes on Facebook, we don't know who knows who, and they will register with somebody. It's just like a simple thing. I mean, like, I know Terry is awesome at
Okay,
that.
Terry's, she's great.
So,
And for your sake, if you're not a part of Piece It Together already on Facebook, Piece It Together is my alternative to negative news. And we have lots of people that participate, and they put in all these wonderful stories of artists and courageous people and people overcoming obstacles and musicians and cool facts and funny animals. And it's just such an uplifting page, Piece It Together. It's PEACE. So if you haven't joined already, join and post. When you find a cool video, you have cool inventions. I don't look at the news. I don't look at a feed. Piece It Together for me is my only access to the outside world, really, other than when I'm with living, breathing people. So I happen to think that the world is a phenomenal place because it is, because I get to see all kinds of great people doing great things. It's fun. I love the stuff that people put there. I just love it. And joining, there is a critical mass. Critical mass is that there's this point when a number is so great that it self-perpetuates, right? I believe in myself and my ability to do this greatly, but I'm not at critical mass yet. When that critical mass gets hit, whatever number it is, I don't know if it's 100,000 on Piece It Together or Soul Smart Wisdom page. I don't know what the number is, but when it's there, it just will perpetuate itself so we can reach more people and more people and more people and more people. And that's part of what this is all about, is how to get to that first number where it just continues to perpetuate on its own. Okay? But thank you, Sue. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm sorry I haven't made it easier to define what it is I do when you invite people to come see me. Anyone want to put down a good paragraph for that? I've been trying to figure one out for about 10 years. So you write a little copy to explain to others how awesome it is to come to an event. Write it, because I can use all the help I can get. We've had marketing people be like, I'm out. Have a nice day. Good job. I really like what you do. Just can't define it. But thank you. So thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed your company tonight. Go out there and enjoy the rest of your summer, and I'll see you on September 11th or September 9th. Okay? Good night.